Hey guys, I'm ProfitzTV bringing you another exclusive video on TradeSkillMaster version 4, teaching you the basics, how to use this add-on to effectively make millions in World of Warcraft. Let's get started. In this add-on tutorial, we're going to be talking specifically about the auctioning functionality within TradeSkillMaster. You'll be spending the majority of your time within this functionality, as well as within shopping and snipering, depending on what you plan on doing. Let's get started. So within TradeSkillMaster, you have 4 functions within it. My auctions, which we talked about in a previous video, auctioning, shopping, and snipering. In auctioning, this is the basic foundation which you'll see. On the bottom right, it is expandable and viewable. You can drag and expand the window to make it larger or smaller based on your preference. I'm going to make it a little bit larger here just so for easier viewing. You still have the base function groups that you're created in the former video about creating group structures. Here's your group structures. They're expandable, collapsible, and movable based on that video to move items around based on your preference of how you want your groups to be set up. Also, from this perspective, you have the ability to run post scans and cancel scans. The major functionality that you're about to see is posting items that are in those groups based upon your operations, and then running cancel scans to ensure that your items are not overbid or undercut, or you need to repost them to post at a higher level. Again, going back to those posting operations that we created. So we'll talk about these buttons in a moment, and we'll actually execute them so you can see. Up top also is the ability to keep a list of your current scans, so you can make the scans repeatable if you wanted to just by clicking on this. These will be automatically imported in here and running as a total as you work and interface with the auction house. You have a favorite scan section as well. To put items in here, all you have to do is click the star on the right of the line. So let's say I wanted to add Black Trillium as a favorite. I'm going to click this star. If I go to favorite scans, now it's available. Remember, recent scans is a rolling list, so eventually these items will roll off. If you want to make sure you're always favoring your scans, just click the star, and you can do your scan from that point. If you do want to do a recent scan, all you have to do is click the item, do the scan just by left-clicking on it. You can do that from the recent list or from your favorites. This will actually go out and scan for the item on the auction house it's available. Once you're in a scan type message, you can go back and you can go by clicking the upper left-hand arrow to go back to the main page. That was a post scan. You have cancel scans, post scans, all showing whatever your recent list of scans that you were doing. Within scans, you can actually open up your bag, and then you can shift click on an item, shift and left click, and that would force it to actually go out and do some searches for you based on the items that are there. I can shift click and it'll go out and do any types of searches that are going to be there, and the items would show up accordingly that are in here. Click on the little arrow again. I want to show you that again just to make sure that you get it. Once you're inside a window, you have an arrow up here to go back to the main operation. Clicking on the window will not bring you back. Click on this little arrow to navigate back to the main page. Again, these are completely manageable. You can remove the ones you want. You can uncheck the ones you want, and this list will grow based on what you're searching for. Moving on down to the bottom section, this shows what items are currently in your bag and what associated group that they're in. And then if you perchance have anything that's not assigned to a default operation, it would show here as well. So you can pick up the items that are currently not in any types of groups or not assigned to an operation, which wouldn't actively operate or make an action against that item. These might be new items that are coming in that you want to assign to certain groups. So let's go to a basic functionality now. We want to run a post scan. The post scan will run based upon your groups you have structured as well as the base group. You want to make sure that you're highlighting the groups that you want to take this action upon. Notice that these are not highlighted. If I highlight them, notice that they turn to the background color. You can quickly identify which groups are in this scan. As you have tons of groups in here, it might sometimes become unwieldy to go and select each individual group depending on how much you have in the nested groups. Again, to the right of the search group, you have the ellipses, which allows you to select all the groups, deselect all the groups, and perform accordingly. If your groups are also large, you can do searches here, and which would do a keyword searchable like all the other areas that have the search field, which makes it quickly identifiable to you to do a specific group. For the sake of this, we're going to select all, and we're going to do a post scan. This will take you to the post scan window where all your auctions will be posted based upon their status and your operations. As you can see here, you have the selected items which will be appearing. You have details about the item as it begins to fill your list where it finds it on the auction house. You have the items, the value, the quantity, the duration. All of these are changeable. You also have the ability to look at all auctions as well. I prefer to keep this view, which shows you specifically what you're listing and the other types of auctions that are there. So for example, I want to do Blazing Emblem. We know that this is the cheapest is currently below my minimum price. So if I wanted to figure out what was going on with that, I can go to all auctions. Here's the actual Blazing Emblem. Notice these little arrows again, which show the expansion and collapsion. You can open that up and you can kind of see what's going on here with prices. Going back to your auction log, again, it shows you all the information that's currently in a group that will post. At the bottom, you did see that it was scanning. It'll scan the appropriate pages required, and then it'll go into a posting phase, meaning posting 1/10. It's ready to be posted, skipped, stopped, based upon your functionality you want to do. So clicking on the first item here, notice you have a buyout. This is what you would currently post it for. This is the actual operation group that it's in, that it's actually performing on. This is the actual seller, and then this is the info of the sections based upon that minimum, maximum, and normal price operations that we said in the group section. So here we would undercut these. This one guy is actually above my maximum. So based on that setting, I'm going to post to my maximum. You have other settings like cheapest auction below minimum price, which basically means we're going to hold on to these items if you wanted to, or you're going to post at your minimum, whatever you want to do with that group based on that answer that you created. So here we're going to go down the list. If you want to do it manually, we're going to post these. Remember in a former video, I also said you have the ability to skip. If per chance you wanted to handle this manually, you can skip by moving to the next section. Now let's say you wanted to modify the price of this. You don't like the price that it's currently set at. And we'll do this here by adjusting these prices, bid price and buyout price. Again, with the edit symbol, going back to the same symbol that we had in the groups, you can click on the little pencil, and that will give you the ability to be able to modify what you want to put here. So let's say we want to change this to 1200 gold. We would start typing 1200, and it's very important to actually press G and hit the enter key. You'll see an indicator by the color of the coin that you're going to be using. So gold, silver, copper. Now that was the bid price. We want to make this 1200 gold flat. So I'm going to click on the pencil symbol for the buyout price. I'm going to type 1200 G, 1200 gold. My stack price is just one stack quantity because I only have one item, of course. And I'm going to adjust the duration now to be 48 hours. And now if I hit post, it's going to take these new features that I stopped and did manually, and it's going to post undercutting this guy instead of 1380 by 1 copper. Remember the settings we had, 1 copper setting. Now it's going to undercut by X amount of based upon the new value. And that's it. You keep going down the list. Now you do have the ability to macro these. So if you do have the macro feature enabled that we set up in a prior video underneath the settings tab, you can hold down your modify key, and then real quickly you can scroll your mouse up and down, and then it just posted the rest of these real fast. Instead of doing it manually, you can macro post these, you can macro cancel these, you can macro buy based upon the shopping tab. That macro functionality is pretty powerful, and again, you want to make sure it's set up properly, because if you overbuy or overlist, you can potentially lose gold. So that's the functionality in this section. We've posted our items. We're going to again click on the upper left-hand arrow to go back to the main page. Now we posted the items that are in our bag. So from here, what we want to do is we want to execute a cancel scan. I highly recommend executing a cancel scan at least once a day to keep your items fresh, depending on what you have in the auction house. So again, it's based upon groups. We want to run a cancel scan. And basically what this does is it's based upon the items that are already on the auction house. What's the current status of that? Or what's the current info of that? And as this populates, it basically goes out, looks at your items, and it tells you whether you're undercut, whether your auction is fine, whether you want to cancel to post at a higher price. These are all based upon the settings you set up in the group and the operations. So here we'll let a couple status run just so I can show you the different types of fields, but it's the same thing. You have the items, you have the item list, depending on which view you like. You have your buyout, your operation, who the actual person is, and what the current status is. So you can see I'm getting some undercuts here. So if you wanted to, underneath Ballast Mall, you can go to all operations, because I want to see what's going on with this. I can go underneath here, I can find Ballast Mall, and then you can basically search and see what's actually happening with that setting, and to see how many people actually have it listed. So here it is. I can expand it, and now you're starting to see, okay, it's 10 gold. We have another person that's real close to that, undercut copper, and there's a lot of them that are listed. Again, we're ignoring that enchant, so it really doesn't matter what the of the means. We're just worried about Ballast Mall. So there's quite a few listed here, and 10 gold all the way up to 25 gold. This one's overpriced for 181 gold. Quick indicator in the percentage column. Again, that's based upon your value that you're using in the market. Going back to auctioning, we'll let this continue to fill out. It looks like the same status that we have. We're either good, we can cancel to repost at a higher price. We can not cancel auction, it's below the minimum price. We can cancel because there's undercuts. Again, we have the flexibility to be able to do that. At the bottom, it's scanning all your auction houses. Just same thing with posting items. It's scanning the auction house. Once it gets to 60, it'll give you the ability to enable these functionality based on what you want to do. So we'll wait for this to process, and then we'll take some action accordingly based on what we want to do. And then we'll also test a macro key out to show you how you can quickly cancel the auctions just as quickly as you can buy and post them. So it's almost done. Notice it's grayed out. The buttons now become available. We now can start taking action against these items. So again, if you wanted to cancel normally, you can do this one by one. If you come to one and you want to skip it, let's say we want to skip trousers, you can skip that. So go to the next section. Cancel auction, which you've undercut. We can cancel that. We can skip it. Now let's say we just want to take quick action. All right, everything else looks good. I like to do a quick cursor view of everything. It looks pretty good. Now you want to make sure your mouse is off the screen. Hold down your modify key, and then you can actually do accordingly. You can see the confirming is going up all the way up to 26, and it's that quickly. I've canceled all these auctions in the queue. They'll eventually be in my mailbox. I can pick them up and continue on posting those or take action accordingly. So that's done canceling. So now we want to go back to the main page of auctioning. So we're going to click this arrow. We're back to the main section. We've effectively posted items, and we effectively did the run scan. That's the basic functionality of auctioning at its very simple level. Now you do have the ability to post manually. Again, if you wanted to, you have the ability to go underneath auctioning. We can deselect all these groups. And you have the ability, if you wanted to shift click an item and add that or do a search for it, and you can add it appropriately. You can do searches within groups, and then also the tooltips as well. As we said, you can look at like this shield is actually in the transmog subgroup within that 500 to 1,000 gold range of where that's at. So again, like in TradeSkillMaster 3, you can quickly identify if these items are in groups. So some of these items aren't in any groups. So let's do a /TSM. We're going to go into our structure. We're going to go into groups, into the base group, and we'll see what type of information is there. I'm going to add a couple to this section so we can post and take action upon those. So here you can again select everything you wanted to. Just for the ease, I'm going to do here, I'm going to do select all. I'm going to uncheck this because I don't want to include that. I don't want to include some gems. The rest of the stuff I just want to post. Or we can create a pattern if you wanted to, because these seems to be recipes or patterns. Let's create that. I'm going to go back to my group, top level, because I want to create a top level group. Click the plus symbol. Here's the new group. I'm going to rename this to patterns. Here's the actual group structure now. I'm going to go to here. I'm going to type pattern as a keyword to quickly identify this. Move these over to add items. It's now in that group. Very cool. So now I want to add, we could do these recipes in the same group, but just for the sake of the patterns, we'll do that. So in the pattern section, now I need to apply this to an operation. In the operation, how do I actually want to do it for auctioning? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to override this, and I'm going to actually select the default group of what I want it associated with. By default, you automatically would see this. What I did it for testing purposes in a prior video is I deleted the default group to show when I add it back, it will come back with the same settings as a normal one. So here's the same configuration. Here's the same settings that we have by the default group. We'll keep that as 24 hours. It's a single item that I want to list. Everything looks good. Now I can actually go back to my auctions, go into auctioning. I want to specifically select pattern, and I'm going to do a post scan, and this should work with those 4 items that I've currently added to that group and give me some type of status based upon that operation. So this one's already cheap. These 2 are ready to be posted. This one looks like it's very high. I actually got this from a wetlands farm. So the shadow hood, you can see that value right there is pretty good. So I'm going to post that accordingly. We'll bump this up to 48 hours. I'm going to post this. I'm going to post this. And of course, these I have specifically to say, it's below my minimum. Don't do any action on the item. Again, going back, make sure you go back through this arrow. And then here you're back to the basic functionality of the auction and posting and canceling and cancel and run scans that you can do within your items and your groups. So that's basically it, folks. You can also click on the bottom here if you want to post separately. You can click on individual items and you can select to post those. What it will do is actually go out and scan the auction house, bring up any type of applicable posts that you have there, and then you can select accordingly to modify those prices manually or post or skip accordingly. So thank you very much for this video, guys. In the next video, we're going to be talking specifically about shopping, and we'll continue on our learning experience together in TradeSkillMaster 4. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Happy gaming and happy earning.